when they come in, they're ninth graders, they come in, they're 14, 15 years old. The most important thing is safety. We start with that. And then from there, you work into theory. When you use it for theory, it's real easy for them to understand like the 4 strokes of a 4-stroke engine. You can see the spark plugs fire. It gives them a much, much better understanding of how things work. And if they get a good understanding of the theory, then when they come out in the shop and they start doing things, they have a much, much better understanding of how something works. So they're paying a lot more attention when I'm using zSpace and teaching than they would be if I'm just using a PowerPoint or a slideshow or something old school. The automotive maintenance zSpace is very quickly becoming my favorite because doing the oil change and cabin air filters and all that stuff, that's spot on. From an efficiency standpoint, a lot of times they're trying to figure out what wrench to use or what ratchet to use. And one of the big features with zSpace is zSpace will tell you get a 1/2-inch drive ratchet with a 6-inch extension and a 17mm deep socket. So if they're doing that through zSpace over and over repeatedly, and then they come out and they start working on the engine, they already know what size the head bolts are. They know what size the oil pan bolts are. They know that they're supposed to take the exhaust manifold off first. That right there is like invaluable because it's repetition. It's them doing it over and over and over again.